Football history doesn't move in straight lines. It doesn't follow tidy progressions or predictable arcs. It moves in moments. Moments when perception changes. Moments when expectation hardens into belief. Moments when a player stops being described as potential and starts being treated as inevitability. Cole Palmer's rise does not announce itself through spectacle alone. It is not built on viral highlights or theatrical dominance. It is built on something more difficult to manufacture in elite football: trust, responsibility, and repeated delivery under pressure. He did not arrive at Chelsea as a global superstar. There were no Ballon d'Or conversations surrounding his transfer. No declarations that he would redefine the Premier League. No widespread expectation that he would immediately become the focal point of one of England's most scrutinized clubs. What followed instead was something far more dangerous in modern football: consistency, composure, control. This is not a highlights compilation. This is not a fan edit driven by emotion or allegiance. This is an examination of why Cole Palmer matters in modern football. Why Chelsea supporters increasingly see him as central to the club's future. Why rival fans scrutinize his output, question his ceiling, and debate his standing. And why neutral observers, even those without a stake in Chelsea's success, find it increasingly difficult to ignore his influence. Because whether opinions align or conflict, Cole Palmer has entered football's serious conversations. Cole Palmer's story does not begin at Stamford Bridge. It begins in Manchester, inside one of the most demanding football environments ever constructed. Manchester City under Pep Guardiola is not a system that rewards raw ability alone. It rewards interpretation, spatial awareness, discipline without rigidity. At City, players are trained to understand football before they are allowed to express it. They're taught to read space before receiving the ball, to recognize angles before attempting passes, to understand when not to act as clearly as when to impose themselves. This environment does not accelerate careers. It filters them. Palmer developed in a structure where technical quality is assumed, not celebrated, where intelligence is non-negotiable, where mistakes are not punished emotionally, but dissected methodically. Every training session reinforces positional awareness. Every tactical drill emphasizes spacing and timing. Every decision is evaluated not in isolation, but in relation to the collective structure. This background shaped Palmer's footballing identity, his decision-making under pressure, his ability to operate between lines, his calmness when receiving the ball in congested zones, his efficiency in tight spaces where reaction time matters more than speed. But there was a structural reality that eventually surfaced. Manchester City did not need another hybrid creator. They did not need another multi-role connector. They required defined specialists executing within established patterns. Palmer, however, was evolving into something more flexible, more central, more responsibility-heavy. His game was becoming less about fitting a role and more about influencing outcomes. So when Chelsea moved for him in 2023, it was not an act of desperation. It was a calculated opportunity. Chelsea were not purchasing a finished superstar. They were investing in a player capable of becoming a system reference point, a central nervous system. At the time of Palmer's arrival, Chelsea were not stable. The squad was one of the youngest in the Premier League. Managerial continuity was absent. Tactical identity was inconsistent. Expectations remained historically high. Patience historically low. This is the environment where many promising careers stall, where confidence erodes, where responsibility becomes a burden rather than an opportunity. Palmer did not retreat from that environment. He leaned into it. From his earliest appearances, he accepted responsibility. He did not defer authority to senior teammates. He did not wait for hierarchy to form around him. He did not play cautiously to protect reputation. He demanded the ball. He accepted penalty responsibility. He played with the assumption that key decisions would flow through him. That matters more than surface-level statistics, because influence at elite level is rarely loud. It is often positional. It reveals itself in moments of hesitation, when teammates instinctively look toward one player. Chelsea players began to seek Palmer during build-up, during transitions, during moments of structural uncertainty. That is leadership without volume, authority without theatrics. Let's slow this down and ground it in facts. Since joining Chelsea, Palmer has produced elite-level goal contributions relative to minutes played. When measured by goals plus assists per 90 minutes, he ranks among the Premier League's most productive attacking midfielders during that period. Context matters. Palmer is not a traditional striker. He does not operate exclusively inside the penalty area. He does not rely on high-volume service or positional repetition. He operates between defensive and midfield lines. He initiates attacks. He finishes sequences. He contributes across multiple phases of possession. When adjusted for minutes played, role complexity, touch involvement, penalty responsibility under pressure, his output becomes more significant, not less. Statistically, Palmer ranks highly in goals and assists per 90 minutes, big chances created, shot accuracy from central zones, penalty conversion under high-pressure scenarios. But numbers alone cannot explain influence. Chelsea's attacking structure has demonstrated measurable dependence on Palmer's availability and positioning. When Palmer is tightly marked, chance creation decreases, ball progression slows, attacking sequences lose clarity. This is not coincidence. This is system reliance. Elite footballers do not merely perform. They stabilize chaos. Palmer's defining moments are already documented. Hat-trick performances, multi-goal contributions in high-pressure matches, penalties converted when momentum was fragile, assists delivered when control was required rather than speed. There is also a behavioral detail that often escapes surface analysis. Palmer does not over-celebrate. He resets quickly. He returns to position. He prepares for the next phase. This is not emotional detachment. It is psychological regulation. Across football history, this trait has consistently appeared in elite performers whose longevity outpaced spectacle. Calm is not the absence of emotion. It is the presence of control. Cole Palmer remains difficult to categorize. He functions as a right-sided creator, a central playmaker, a secondary striker, a penalty specialist. This versatility creates tactical problems for opponents. Defensive structures cannot man-mark him without opening space elsewhere. Leave him time at the edge of the box. Force him wide consistently. Because Palmer adapts. He reads the game as it unfolds. He adjusts tempo rather than forcing rhythm. He chooses moments instead of chasing impact. This adaptability explains managerial trust. It also explains why Chelsea's attacking shape often bends subtly around his positioning. As we discuss these traits, ask yourself, is Cole Palmer already Chelsea's most tactically important player, even without being their most experienced? Does Chelsea's attacking output drop measurably when Palmer is tightly marked or unavailable? Is his calm penalty record under pressure a skill advantage or a statistical outlier? Would Palmer's influence look greater or smaller in a more stable Chelsea system? Is decision-making more valuable than dribbling in modern Premier League attacks? Does Palmer control games through positioning rather than volume involvement? Is his versatility helping Chelsea tactically or masking structural issues? Would Palmer's role be harder or easier in a Guardiola-style possession system? Is Palmer closer in profile to a playmaker or a secondary striker? Does carrying responsibility early accelerate development or increase burnout risk? Consider these questions as you think about the narrative arc of Chelsea football. This is not about hype. It is about structural evaluation. Comparisons are inevitable, not because they are fair, but because football culture demands them. Cole Palmer and Eden Hazard. Hazard represented explosive unpredictability. Palmer represents calculated inevitability. Hazard destabilized defenses with acceleration and improvisation. Palmer destabilizes structures with timing and decision-making. One thrived on chaos. The other imposes order. Cole Palmer and Bukayo Saka. Both carry club responsibility. Both face weekly scrutiny. Both operate in demanding tactical environments. Saka's game is rhythm-based. Palmer's is situational. Which model sustains longer at the elite level? Will Palmer's situational control age better than Saka's rhythm-based style? This is the discussion fans are having weekly across forums. Cole Palmer and Erling Haaland. Haaland finishes systems. Palmer enables them. One is a terminal point. The other is connective tissue. Who is more valuable depends entirely on system context. Can a team survive without Palmer as easily as without Haaland? No credible analysis claims Cole Palmer is Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo. That is not the argument. Careers at that level begin with identifiable traits, not trophies. Composure, responsibility, efficiency under pressure. These are observable behaviors. Chelsea supporters recognize themselves in Palmer. Young, questioned, written off prematurely. Rival supporters recognize a developing threat. Neutral supporters recognize narrative gravity. That is why Cole Palmer analysis will age well. Because this is not a peak. It is infrastructure. Cole Palmer does not require defending. The data supports his influence. The performances support his importance. The moments are already logged. The only unanswered question is placement. When football history looks back, where will Cole Palmer be positioned? And more importantly, where do you place him right now? For deep football narratives that move beyond headlines, subscribe to PulseScope. This story is not complete. It is still being built.